morning just to share the word. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. My fellow South Africans, welcome to the family gathering. Not from the children of the Republic of South Africa, but from the children of the Kingdom of God. Ladies and gentlemen, what an interesting mic. Right, while they get the balance right, I'll try to tone my own voice down. And I just want to say, today is going to be the last in the Resolve series. And this is about resolve for relationship resilience. Now you see, it's ours, resolve for relationship resilience. And loosely translated, if this sermon would be in Afrikaans, it would be verhoudinge gebou om te hou. So this is relationship resilience. Now, the interesting thing is about relationships. Relationships happen where we see square meters, where people share square meters. If you're alone, there's no relationship. But when you share square meters, this is actually where things start to happen. And this is where people start to relate to each other. Now, where do we share square meters? We share it in the bedroom, we share it in the sitting room, we share it in the boardroom, we share it on the production floor. So we share square meters all over the place. We share it in our communities in South Africa, in the southern part of Africa. Actually, the biggest square meters that we share is actually the surface of the earth itself. And therefore, this is where it is really necessary. Now, it's quite interesting that when I was the in-house coach and counselor of the petrochemical company Sasol for a number of years, every year in January, after Christmas, after the Christmas holidays, people flocked to my consulting room and said, Gustav, no, it can't continue like this. We want to file for a divorce. And I was always wondering why that happened. Then I realized in the year you sort of flee from each other, you sort of get out of the tension of a relationship. But the moment you sort of force together with a Christmas gathering, things like that, then people realize this relationship is not working. And you know what happened and then I usually gave them tools and said, listen, no, this is, it's too a precious thing just to discard. So let's sit and let's work on some tools. And perhaps some of those I will love to share with you today. But the most important thing is what happened during lockdown. You know what happened during lockdown was that people were forced together in square meters. And literally, I thought I would have a bit of a holiday break, but I turned very soon into a frontline worker that 3-4 days after lockdown, the phone started ringing and said, Gustav, you need an urgent appointment. No Zoom appointment, no Teams appointment, face-to-face. We're going to kill each other. And therefore, that was literally part of my daily work, even the early days of lockdown. Now, a friend of mine, he's a Singaporean Christian speaker. He the other day posted on Facebook and he said, now, lockdown, give it one word. And all sorts of people said this and that and that. And I would actually wonder what your word would be. But I wrote there, honeymoon. Because if you're locked down with your favorite person, how good can it get? But some other people didn't write honeymoon, because if you're not locked down with your favorite person, then it is really hell. So it can be either honeymoon or hell. And I'm not only just concerned for the adults, because right from the beginning, I was so concerned for children. And that was one of my biggest concerns. So what if you are locked down with people who abuse you? Verbal abuse, even physical abuse? And people, we live in a broken reality. And what if you're locked down in a situation where and there was a lady who wrote a book about toxic parents with the title of Toxic Parents, that said you get the verbal abusers, the physical abusers, the inadequate parents, and a whole list. And she said the verbal abuser steals a child's confidence, and the physical abuser steals a child's innocence. And I was deeply concerned about about the things that happened, that lockdown was not a pleasure for everybody in this situation. So what should a family be? A family should be a place conducive for growth. A family should be a place where you actually create a space, an environment where not only the adults thrive and live, but also where children come to their full potential, and you raise them up to stand there in purpose in life to come. But there's another interesting thing. If we talk about square meters is for peace, for pleasure, for profit, and for witness. So if we share square meters, then number one, it is reactively that people must not take each other out. There must be peace. But people, we cannot just work from minus to zero all the time. Relationship resilience is more than minus to zero. It is always there from also 0 to 100. Why can't we just use it for pleasure, that you actually enjoy your family holiday together, that you actually make fantastic and create childhood memories for your children, that you actually do things, that you create moments of special moments on earth. And this is the interesting thing about Christian faith. All other faiths wait for, we are after, and one day, and if you just do this right, and then one day you'll. You know what happened with Jesus? The kingdom came to this world, heaven came to earth, and we live in this in-between times between the already and the not yet, and we can create moments of happiness, moments of heaven on earth, moments of intimacy, moments of such joy that you want to burst from it. And people, that is our purpose, that we must have a resolve for relationship resilience, not only resilience to survive, but also resilience to create, that you really create this space that is conducive for growth. But it's also not only for peace and pleasure, it's also for profit. So those of you in businesses, those of you in sports teams, you want a good relationships. You do not just want to tolerate other people that lives with you. I'm busy presenting a diversity intelligence workshop series for a big company, and they think tolerance is diversity intelligence. Tolerance is just to say, I don't like you at all, but I just have enough emotional intelligence not to punch you in the face. Now, life must be more than tolerance. I do not just want to tolerate my fellow team members or my fellow business people. I want to bring joy. I want to gel. I want to really let we gel in a winning team, that we really come together as a winning business or a winning sports team. But you know, there's another thing that why relationship resilience is important, and that is for the whole concept of witness. Because in John 17, there's a very unique text that says, I want you to be one so that the world can believe. You know, if I can summarize the theology of John 10 in 1 minute. John 10, the whole book of John, just consists of this. You cannot see God. It starts in the beginning. You can read John. You can follow me in this. This is the executive summary. You cannot see God, but God became visible in Jesus Christ. And so now we can see God. But Jesus are going back to heaven, and what is left on earth? The body of Christ, the church. And therefore, if you want to see God, you must look at the church. So therefore, you must be one. Otherwise, what do they see? You see, that is the executive summary of the Gospel of John. And that is exactly why people are watching you. People, this is not only just for personal joy or for profit in teams or for winning teams. This is that the community, that as fellow South Africans in the family of the kingdom of God, that people are watching us. They are watching you. They say, you're a Christian. So how do you live? Do you live an inspirational life? Do you live a life that your relationships are actually inspirational for other people? And that is your relationship with your children, with your friends. They are all watching you. The world is watching you. And therefore, we must do this for the sake of witness. Now, the interesting thing about sharing square meters is, John Maxwell once said, if you have a dream, you need a team. But he was not the first person who said that. If we go to Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9, there's a beautiful text here, and this is the text of today, one of them. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Isn't it beautiful? Why do we need relationships? Want twee is beter as een. Two is better than one. It is literally the case that you need a team in order to survive. We must hold hands. We must be there for each other. You know, the most important thing of a relationship is to be there for each other. Just to know there's somebody to fall back onto. You know, what is hell on earth? Loneliness. But there's also a beautiful text for that, and that is Psalm 68, verse 6. God sets the lonely in what? In families. God sets the lonely in families. And that is to my mind one of the reasons why we must really work hard on what I call relationship resilience. And even though you're single, I've been single for quite some time in my life, but you always have two families, actually three. The first family is your family of origin. There's not a single person who didn't have a father or mother. Even if you're an orphan, you had a father and mother. It takes two people to get a child to be born. So you had a family of origin, and if they were not present there, somebody else stepped in and literally raised you, and now you are here today, and you can think back of that. But you also have a family of destination, and very often, sometimes the family of origin, sometimes older people here think back of their family of origin and say, Gustav, that was not heaven, that was something else. But the fact of the matter is, here we are. We always have a family of origin and a family of destination. And there is a beautiful thing, especially when I was single. Now I have my own family. But when I was as single as can be, you know what I realized? And this is the next slide. I realized the smallest church is the family, but your largest family is the church. The smallest church is the family, but your largest family. You will never be without a family. And this is the beauty of what we're celebrating here today. Despite restrictions, despite anything, there's 100 people here, count to the last one, in this room. And we are here because we are family, because we cherish this, because we know we must see this as holy, and we must work hard to literally to uphold the importance of this family. And now you see the importance of resolve for resilience. So this is not just a nice to have. This is something that is so core, so part of the whole story, that we must really, really work hard on it. And if I find people in this very specific stage, if you say, Gustav, okay, you're sort of convincing me, I want to work on this, then it is quite interesting that I usually find people at one of five positions. And that one of five positions is, and that is a screenshot from one of my business presentations that I took and just threw into the slides, is that I find people either in a fragile or fearful situation, where people are really breaking up. Then I find some people are agile and adaptable. And in agile and adaptable, they just survive. It's barely survival. But then some people are absorbent and robust. I mean, they take the body blows, but they say, bring it on, man. Bring it on. I can take that. And then some people are resilient. You know, they are really resilient. Remember, it's about resilience this morning. Now, some people are resilient. You know what is resilience? Resilience is you are here, and they push you back, but you bounce back. You have a degree in University of Life. Not the BBA, it's not the Baccalaureate of Business Administration. It is the bouncing back ability. So resilience is they push you, and you say, no, I'm going to make a comeback to this current position. But you know, this is even that is not where we want to be. I've found that there are some people, and I'm so impressed by people that I see in my consulting room, how they take life and do not only bounce back, but they're in some way better off afterwards. And they are in the category of hyper-resilient. I call them my superheroes in life. And I always ask, what do they know that other people don't know? So you always find people, either in families or in life, even companies in this position of fragile and fearful. Oh, what am I going to do? Agile and adaptable. You know what is agility? Agility is, and I ran with my daughter the other day close to the Kruger National Park. She was a little bit in front of me. I don't know why, if she's fitter or something. I don't know the reason. But for some reason, she was running this way, and suddenly 90 degrees went into this direction. I thought, now, what is this? And then I looked down, there was a python lying there. So I also went 90 degrees in the other direction. That is agility. Agility is you see the thing and you just jump. That is crisis management. That is agility. But absorbing and robust is, now there's new. How long? We thought it's just going to be a few weeks. Now it's another year. Now there's new regulations coming at you. And how is it going to affect the family? And family plans and holiday plans are canceled and things like this. But then the people that bounce back, that they say, no, watch me. I'll make a comeback. But I have greater ideals for you. And I think Jesus has greater ideals, that he doesn't want us just to survive, but he wants us to live fully 100%. And that is to become hyper-resilient, that you actually thrive, that you're actually better off, that you actually in some ways say, what was this year like? It was devastating in many effects, but you know what? As far as relationships are concerned, I'm better off. Actually, as far as finances, even more so, because I know now the value of it. And even in all aspects of my life, really, what is important became important, and what is unimportant became unimportant. And therefore, I am actually much better off this time of year. So this is the 5 positions that you very often find people in. Now, how do you get to that situation of not only bouncing back, but really getting to the situation that you're victorious in all of this? And that is the first thing that you must realize, is that it is the whole concept of build to last. Now, there are business books written about this. It was built to last. But there's a huge misunderstanding here, as if the thing is built. Now you have a relationship. Now you must just build it. It was built to last. No. The misunderstanding is people think they just build it and then it's finished. You know, it is build. It is continuous. It's a continuous verb. You must build it every day of your life. You cannot just have relationship resilience if you just think, yeah, build it as if it is finished. It is built to last as if it's finished. No, you must build it every specific day of your life. And every day, you can either build it on your own, or you can get God to be your master builder and regard yourself not as the main builder, but as actually the subcontractor in your marriage. And that is where I would like to go to the next text, and that is Psalm 127, verse 1. Unless the Lord builds the house, in the English Standard Version, unless the Lord builds the house, those who built it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is in vain that you rise up early and go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved in their sleep. Now, isn't it beautiful? The grace that we experience is, sometimes you realize this has got actually nothing to do with me. Actually, God gave it to you in your sleep, because you know you don't regard yourself as the master builder. You regard yourself as the person who actually just take the architectural plan that he gives you and then sort of implement it. And he gives us the tools in order to use it. So this is the most important thing, that we must see ourselves literally as the subcontractors. Even in coaching, I never call myself a life coach. I call myself the assistant coach. Because the main coach is always there. And therefore, I'm just, and as an assistant coach, God needs eyes, hands, and feet on earth. In order to get relationships running, he needs some people to sustain it. So the next question is, if God builds the house, can I now just sit back? No. Who will give your lover coffee? That is the question. So who gives the coffee? So in this relationship, you must come and know, as the person in the relationship, you are the person there to actually say, listen, I must find out what are the needs of my people. I must be the person who provide. And even though God builds the house, if God is not going to give my wife coffee. I sat and tried that a few mornings. It didn't happen. But when I started realizing my responsibility, then I realized I must actually come to the party and do some things here. And here is a nice exercise for you going into the Christmas time. If you really want to build this relationship to last. Now, gentlemen, listen carefully here. Take your wife out on a nice, lovely romantic dinner. You can even do it in the garden, whatever, get your children to be the waiters or whatever, or go to a restaurant, whatever you want to do. And that evening, you only ask your wife the following questions. You ask, how would you like to be loved? And you ask that question in 30 or 40 different ways. What is your favorite Friday afternoon? What is your favorite weekend? What is your favorite holiday? What is your favorite, how do you like this? And what do you like this? And what is your favorite thing would you like me to do? And what is the things you would like me to stop doing? You don't say a word. You don't get drawn into this conversation. You take a notebook and you make notes. And there is your agenda for the next 3 years. And this is, if you really want to build a relationship, you clarify expectations, and guess what? Then you fulfill them. Now, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So ladies, please do the same with your husband, but don't waste time on a nice and a long sort of romantic dinner. Just take him to the McDonald's drive-through and ask him the questions. And then, I mean, before you go to collect the stuff, the 3 answers will be given, and and then things are anyway sorted. So people, this is you must build this thing on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's something that endangers relationships. The thing that endangers relationships are the following. And this is something I must say. I cannot empower people if I put a strong engine into a car with a broken wheel. What do? I set you up for an accident looking for a place to happen. And this is where the whole endeavor of Jesus in our lives is to fix brokenness. Now, a good relationship, what does it look like? 2 whole people can exist on their own, having a wholesome relationships, and the shared space is intimacy. But like Khalil Gibran said, let there be spaces in our togetherness. Because I remember the wife of Willem Nickel, one of the best New Testament theologians in the world, actually. His wife, Jurgen Nickel, was a psychologist, and she wrote a book on marriage preparation. She said, you can be too tightly married, and then you want to jump out, and you can be too loosely married, like Rolling Stones. But this is that you have great moments of intimacy, and you can be on your own. But you know what broken relationships look like? They look like this. And then you try to look for a person who fills the gap. And you can't live with him or her or live without her, because this is either I can't live without you, I can't live with you. And this brokenness creates symbiotic, sick relationships. And it can never satisfy you. And then people want more and more and more and everything, and this is what a broken relationship looks like. This deserves a sermon on its own. But I just want to say, if you feel any kind of brokenness, remember, marriage is not a hospital. You must go to the hospital to get this fixed. Do your partner, do your children a favor. If there's any brokenness left over from your family of origin embedded in you that you carry with the nonsense into this relationship, sort it out. Go for healing. And that is so important. Remember, marriage is not a hospital. Die huwelik is nie 'n hospitaal nie. Go for a place. And you know how that healing happens. We try to heal the gap by filling it from the outside in. It should be done from above to the inside to the outside. If you're touched by God, then you don't need to be filled from the outside. Then you're filled from the inside, and you become whole again. And this is the fullness of healing that is available, that I want you, if you sense any brokenness in you, please go and get some healing. And this is for the adults. Now for the children. For the children, there's an interesting message here. Did you know that you always have the perfect parents? And you thought you didn't? Amen? Now the parents are happy with this one. Now young people just sit. You always have the perfect parents. As perfect parents, they show you exactly what to do, and in some cases, they show you exactly what not to do. You know, where I learned this lesson, I was at school with these two fantastic talented sports talented guys. And the one's father was even a Springbok rugby player, but both of them had really not good family situations. Alcoholic father, abusing the mother, even physical violence, it was really bad. I was a friend with one of them. And both of them, had really to struggle to survive. And one of them really just criticized his father and said, what a bad deal I had, and man, can you believe it? Life is unfair. And you know what, later in life, he did worse things than his father did. I read it literally in the newspapers. But the other young man, his father was a Springbok rugby player. His father drilled him. His father taught him discipline. So he got everything in as far as rugby is concerned. He became a Springbok rugby player. I'm not going to mention his name. He became a Springbok rugby player himself. And when I went with him, he never dissed his father. He never said, oh, what a bad dad I have. He took me to his house. It was dangerous there, man. When the guy was drunk, it was dangerous to go in there. And he said, this is my dad. And he always said, this is my dad. And when we were in private, he said, Gustav, I actually have the perfect dad. I knew I had to learn rugby from him. And the rest, I just looked at him and I realized if I do the exact opposite, I will be successful in life. And he's currently living in Australia and having an amazing life, and I knew his wife, and I saw them grow up. So children, even if relationships, that you're in a situation of brokenness, don't lose hope. You always have the perfect parents. And even if there are parents here looking back at your family of origin and sense the pain and brokenness still present in you, go and do something about it. Just look at them and say, I'm going to do the exact same opposite. So how to get to that hyper-resilient relation is reactively make sure that if you sense any brokenness in your life, go and sort it out. Go and do inner healing. There are so many things available here that you can just ask, and it will be provided for you. So your relationships can go from either if you have a toxic relationship or a fantastic parent, a fantastic family, you can, literally, you can have a future because you know what to do. Second last thing I want to say is, the one thing that can give you a hyper-resilient relationship is an immune system. Now, what do I mean with this? Without an immune system, you will die. Now, we knew before COVID there was an illness called AIDS. Why was AIDS so dangerous? Because it attacked the thing that actually must heal you. Did you know, as far as COVID is concerned, that 99.5% of people survived COVID? Why? Because of God's grace and your immune system that is given to you. Did you know that? We're all here because we have an immune system. But there was this illness even more dangerous than this, and it was AIDS, because what did AIDS do? It attacked the immune system. It is the immune deficiency syndrome. So now the smallest of things come in and you die of the smallest of things because you don't have a defense mechanism. You know what is the immune system of a marriage, of a relationship, even a friendship, any relationship? Communication. Because communication has got two goals. It is, I call it the broom and the brick, or I call it the cleaning system and the building system. Communication is there's the small little things come in, and if you don't sort things out and you're avoiding conflict all the time, it builds up. In my consulting room in Secunda at Cecil, I always had magazines there. And if every client just brings one magazine, after day one there will be 10 magazines. After day two, 20. And after a year, the magazines will be stuck there, and then I cannot even see my client. This is what people come to me and say. We don't have anything to say to each other anymore. It is because you allowed small little things and never communicated it out and sorted it out. And now it built up, and now you can never see it. In divorce papers, it always stands. Communication broke down irrevocably. That is the usual line. Now, communication is there if you're on a daily basis clean the house. I went to France one day, and that was a house. Literally, they never cleaned the house. Literally, there were footpaths in the house that you through the dust that you could see. It was disgusting. But this is what happens in our relationships, that we actually never talk the small things out, and then it becomes a big thing. And with good, normal, good old communication training, you can restart a relationship that got stuck. And with that, also to build. Build is then, it's not just minus to zero. How do you talk people up or do you talk people down? And talk people up, and that we can build people. But you can see I'm getting carried away here. I would love to continue, but I think I must close at some time or another. I just want to make you hungry for more. I just want to say, relationship resilience is not just surviving, not killing each other in lockdown. It's not just barely surviving. We must go from survive to thrive. And so there's so much more. There's so much more to unlock. There's so much joy that you leave on the table. It is not just avoiding conflict. It is there to really create conflict, to create moments of heaven on earth. And that is that if we go beyond survival, then we can go to deeper intimacy. We can go to deeper intimacy. And that deeper intimacy, I want you to be hungry for that. What is the essence of a relationship? It is that your loneliness is gone and you have deep connectedness, and that is called intimacy. And there are 4 kinds of intimacy: physical intimacy, emotional intimacy, intellectual intimacy, and spiritual intimacy. A family who prays together stays together. A family who've got things to talk about, intellectual intimacy. A family who can share emotions. What are the most women in my consulting group complaining? Can he just share his emotions with me, please? You can just imagine what the men ask, talking about physical intimacy, but anyway. So fact of the matter is, so these are the emotions. Annalise and I were sitting the other day in Menlyn, and usually at some of these restaurants in Joburg, we sat the other day, and an old school friend, I wanted to catch his eye, and that whole evening, he didn't speak one word with his wife. He literally just spoke to the waiter once. We said, and I said, no, I'm not going to greet him. It's not going well there. And we sat there, and in Menlyn, there were tables when we still could go there. And there were tables, and all the couples were so interested in sharing. And we looked at each other and said, this is a good day in the neighborhood. And therefore, this is what we can aim at, that we really go beyond just survival to deeper intimacy. So let's close. I want you to make a resolve. I want you to resolve, not a New Year's resolution. I want you to make a deep, deep resolve in your heart that if you detect any brokenness in you, compromising a relationship, get out and go for healing. That if you see the opportunity of the days ahead and the weeks ahead, why don't you just build? It's not built to last. Why don't you build a relationship that you literally built with God as the master builder and you bringing the coffee to your lover? Why don't you use, if you had bad examples, why don't you use this example and take the good and just see the negative and just do the exact opposite, like my friend who became the Springbok rugby player? Why don't you resolve that you take communication and you do take communication, become a master in communication, that you really create the immune system of a relationship, that you take all the negative things away through communication and you build this relation. And I want you to resolve that you want to go for more, because life is too short for bad coffee and for a bad relationship. Amen.